Hey everybody, it is Tony George. He is Griffin Murphy, and we are coming back at you week one of the Doc Sports Gridiron Six Pack, a show last year that went 68% against the spread, over 100 plus game sample size. But now, Griff, we start out 0-0, goose eggs in week one of the NFL, week two of college football. Are you fired up for some NFL, buddy?
Tony, I couldn't be more jacked up for NFL, dude. You know, we've been waiting all season long, all off season. I'm actually in Arizona right now. Me and my best friend have a ritual every 5 year or every single year for the past 5 years. We have watched the NFL opener together. So I jumped on a plane, flew out to Arizona, getting ready for this Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens game. Couldn't be more jacked up and ready to get back in Vegas for Sunday NFL opener. How are you feeling over there, man?
Well, you mentioned it. How do you think I'm feeling? You know, I'm a Chiefs fan. Chiefs
Yep.
are opening up the season, redo of the AFC Championship game where they won outright as an underdog and took care of Lamar Jackson, proving once again he can't win the big one.
Yep.
And Patrick Mahomes can. So here we go. Chiefs going for the three-peat this year. Been some interesting things in college football before we get to the picks real quick. And none more interesting than what we witnessed on Labor Day. Florida State started out 0-2, Griff. Your on the Seminoles and double-digit underdogs in both games and lose outright. You know, I can almost forgive them for the game in Dublin, Ireland. Strange things happen over there. It's overseas travel. There's a lot of distractions. You know, they have basically an entire new, offense and, a lot of key players where Georgia Tech had a lot of players coming back. However, Boston College, Bill O'Brien, old school football goes in there and just manhandles them in the trenches, just old school banging football, something that Florida State's kind of a high flying team. Interesting opening for the Seminoles right now, Griff.
Yeah, Tony, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And you know what? I actually had some fun on that game. I threw a couple bills at that game, and I had Florida State thinking, I looked at that line, minus 16.5. I was, what am I missing here? This just looks like a full-blown complete trap bet. The offensive line got blown up. The defensive line got blown up. That was the worst quarterback displaying I have ever seen in football. That kid should have been benched after the first quarter. I had enough. I was throwing whatever. I had enough. I threw the towel after the first quarter watching this kid play. So this Florida State team right now, not really high hopes in my eyes for them in this season, but going in deeper, Tony, we've got some great college football in our hands going into this weekend, as well as we have some huge NFL plays rolling in.
I wasn't throwing anything during the BC Florida State first half, but I was betting BC in the second half because I thought it was going to be more of the same.
Outright.
I thought Florida State was just manhandled up front, and they were. And I thought, as physical as Boston College was, that they were going to continue to wear them down in the second half and just get it done.
Yeah.
And O'Brien, bear in mind, this guy was a coach in college, and he went to the NFL, to Texas, and he was, calling plays for Saban down in Alabama. He's been in big games against high-flying teams, and keep an eye on Boston College this year. They just might surprise some people. I'll tell you one thing, they're definitely going to be competitive. Here's a competitive game in some people's eyes and not other people's eyes. You're talking about Kansas State and Tulane, and of course, Tulane, their coach is gone.
Yep.
Their quarterback, their star running back, all the key components that got that coach a promotion to another team in Kansas State. Speaking of coaches, one of the best coaches in college football, Chris Klieman. I mean, this guy is an unbelievable football coach. What he's done with the Kansas State Wildcats been unbelievable. He won a Big 12 championship with a team that was finished, figured to finish middle of the pack that year. And of course, they opened up with a, ho-hum 41-6 win, against a nobody, so to speak. And really didn't show anything. Tulane opened up with an impressive 52-0 win, but let me put the disclaimer by that, Griff. Southeastern Louisiana, but I think Kansas State's going to be a team again in the Big 12 that's going to be hanging around just because of the coach and the players. And Kansas State has one of the best 1-2 punches at running back around, especially in the Big 12 with Giddens and Edwards in there. These two guys are bangers, taking a lot of pressure off the quarterback here. Kansas State laying 10, total 48.5. How do you see it?
Yeah, Tony, I mean, as you mentioned, Kansas State opens up the season absolutely pummeling Tennessee Martin with a 41-6 final. And I've got to talk about Avery Johnson at that quarterback spot. Kid opened up 14 for 21, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Last season, this kid led at the helm. 2023 Pop-Tarts Bowl MVP. 2023 Big 12 Honorable Freshman of the Year. Tulane, on the other hand, as you mentioned, they opened up against Southeastern Louisiana, 52-0. That was more of a tune-up game. Tulane, dating back to 2021, they're just 1-3 against the spread as home underdogs, and that is what is taking place in this matchup. Kansas State, they have to come out and prove a point in my eyes. After Tulane, they've got Arizona at home. They've got BYU on the road, who I'm not so sure about this year. And then, obviously, a nice Oklahoma State team that is going to give them a hell of a run at home. So, early on in college football, teams, they're always due to make a statement. When they're beating you, they're going to beat the hell out of you. And as you mentioned, Chris Kleiman, absolute outstanding head coach in his 31st year of coaching, and he does a very good job running this program. Tulane, I will say, they do have speed on the defensive side, but Kansas State is huge in the middle. And as you mentioned, they run a very well-coordinated offense. I like Kansas State here, and we have a total near 50 points in this matchup, which tells us it's going to be a rather close game. But I have to say, Kansas State, they have a much better offense, and they're way stronger on the corners. So I like Kansas State here, and I'm laying that 9.5. Even at that 10 points, I'm very comfortable laying the points here with Kansas State, Tony. But I want to shift gears here really quick, and I want to jump into this Georgia Tech game. Laying 3.5 against Syracuse in Syracuse. A total at 61 points right now. This game kicks off at noon on Saturday, September 7th. The question we have to ask ourselves here is, Georgia Tech for real, or does Florida State just absolutely suck? Well, we just kind of talked about that right now, and in my eyes, I think it's a little bit of both. We're going to see a little bit of mixture of both. And then you have Syracuse on the other hand. They open up each season, and they usually come out typically hot. Last season, they opened up the year going 4-0. They're home favorites in this matchup. So the real question here, Tony, is Georgia Tech for real, or are we going to see some exposure out of the orange in this matchup? What's your take here?
Well, Cuse actually is the dog here. And what happened, an interesting thing happened on the way to the show with Monday happening, where you're right, Georgia Tech was minus 3.5. And after Florida State went out there and showed their ass again as maybe being totally overrated, this line dropped an entire point. The value, the perceived value of Georgia Tech went down a little bit because Florida State wasn't that top 10 team. Sure. They haven't played like a top 10 team in either game. Now, if you're the athletic director at Georgia Tech right now, you're having your wife go out and start the car to make sure it doesn't explode before you get it into work, because however the schedule laid out, this is their third game this year, and none of them have been at home yet. Who's doing this scheduling? Yeah. Don't you go play Towson or Furman or Tallahassee JUCO like the second or third game of the year before the ACC schedule hits and all? No, we're going to go on the road in the Carrier Dome and go play Syracuse for the third road game in a row. And one of them was in Dublin, Ireland. Give me a break. Now, Georgia Tech does have a hidden gem. Haynes King is no joke. You and I were talking about this in Vegas on contest weekend down at Circa about him ripping up, Florida State. This guy's a stud. He was a good player last year. He's a dual threat. He got MVP in that Dublin, Ireland game against Florida State for his efforts. And last week, he did not disappoint again. This cat threw for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an 82% completion rate. And bear in mind, he threw for 69% against Florida State, but The caliber of those teams, I'm not so sure about. Now, Syracuse opened up with a win over Ohio U, 38-22. Their quarterback, Kyle McCord, remember him? Ohio State transfer.
Yep.
Here he is. He went 29 for 37 for 354 and 4 TDs and a 69% completion rate in that game. I think the road catches up with Georgia Tech. Give me the Cuse in the Carrier Dome in this one, Griff. I like the orange in this one, faux show. So getting back to college football and Griffin Murphy, and don't forget to get over to DocSports.com. We got a free $60 for anybody who's never been a member. Everybody likes free stuff. When I say drinks are on me for free, you ought to see Griffin run from one end of the bar to the other. The guy could set a combine, the NFL combine 40-yard dash record to get up to the bar for the free cocktail. So, ladies and gentlemen, get over to DocSports.com, get the free $60. It comes with no strings, no hassles, and a profit guarantee. This is the weekend that you launch. This is the weekend that you get hooked up with a company that's been around 53 freaking years. Come on. And there's a ton, 95% of the stuff on the website's free. Griff, some of the information that I find on the website, that I read the content, I find useful in my own handicapping, for crying out loud. The quality of content we got over there, Griff, is unbelievable.
Absolutely, Tony. I couldn't disagree with anything whatsoever. We have article after article, whatever you guys are looking for, free picks, you name it, it's all listed on the website. You can see our runs. You can see how hot all of our cappers have been. And once again, everybody likes free drinks. And Tony mentioned it's like me running the 40-yard dash. Well, Tony, same goes for you, my friend. Same goes for you.
Yeah, you're running a 4.2 and I'm running a 6.9, dude.
We get there, though. We get there.
It's not how you look, it's how you finish, right, baby? Come on.
That's right.
All right, we're taking on a game here. I'm going to give to you the Pittsburgh Panthers taking on the Bearcats at Cincinnati this weekend. The total is 63 in this game. It opened 59. Mm-hmm. Big move on this total, Griff. And also the Bearcats -2. Now, since he opened up with I guess you would, on the surface, a lackluster win against Towson, 38-20. But in that lackluster win, this is why I'm interested to get your take on this game. They put up 658 yards of offense.
Yep.
275 on the ground, 383, the old Mopar muscle engine car, the 383 through the air. And then you got Pitt, who opened up with a win over Kent State, 55 to, I believe that's 24. I can't read my writing. And they put up 590 yards. Now, both those were weak sisters they were playing. Interesting on the total. Maybe a little interesting on the side as well. How do you see it?
Yeah, Tony, you know, I even had to double check when I went through this breakdown and I was looking at this game. When I saw that 630 yards, I'm like, wait, this can't be, is this game two? This is out of control. I literally had to double take. But jumping into this, man, I have to say Pittsburgh, they're always a weird team. Every single year, you never really know what you're going to expect. Last season, they put a hurt on some really good teams, and then they lost to crappy teams. They were very inconsistent. But Eli Holston, he wins that starting quarterback role, quarterback number 1. And last week, this kid erupted. He went 30 for 40, 3 touchdowns, and 335 yards in the air. So, season opener, fighting for quarterback 1 spot and showing out like that, I'm not worried about this kid's nerves whatsoever. The issue is, how's Pittsburgh's defense going to come out? Cincinnati's at home here. They put up 38 points against Tulane, and Brendan Sorsby looked nothing short of lights out at that quarterback spot. The issue here for the Bearcats is they had the 6th worst run defense in the Power 5 last season. Now, to back this up, Pittsburgh is a team that thrives more on airing the ball out opposed to their run game. So, looking at this total, I think we see a tighter ball game here than the books have this set. I think it's going to be a lot much more of a defensive war, as Pitt is very strong on the edges and Cincinnati is also strong on the edges. This, in my eyes, is going to be a game of who comes out ready to play and who doesn't. My play in this one, Tony, is drilling that under at 63.5 points, as we have a lot of angles here that determine equal matchups on both sides of the ball, which signals me to a low-scoring game. So, Tony, once again, I'm drilling the under 63.5 here, as I think the market mismatched this play. But everybody's waiting for NFL, so let's shift and let's jump right into it, Tony. And you're going to be breaking down my Chicago Bears. I'm very excited to see how this one rolls out. Is Caleb Williams going to show out? Has there been too much hype during this offseason with the Chicago Bears, including them going undefeated in preseason? Now, laying 4.5 points against the Titans, who look to be a tad more evolved despite their loss with Derrick Henry. Tony, how do you see this game playing out? Is 4.5 points too much for the Chicago Bears? Can they even win this game outright, despite the fact of how they've been playing these past few years? What's your take?
Full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, watching the show right now, I do talk to Griff Murphy almost on a daily basis throughout the course of every day.
Yeah.
And I got to tell everybody that all I've been hearing about from Griffin was one thing. Caleb Williams, the offense, we're bombing. We got them all in there. We're rocking. We're rolling. Yeah, that division's going to be ours. Green Bay's overrated. We're ready to rock. We got an offense nobody can stop. And look at the score. Look at the score. Look at the score. Scoreboard, scoreboard, scoreboard. That's all I heard in the entire preseason, folks. I just want you to know.
You just didn't like what we did here, too.
That being said, when they rack up, 20, 30 points against the third stringers from the Colts and, this, that, and the other, I'm going to take a pause back. This game here, though, I think provides a ton of value on the total. I could only lay the number. I hate to tell Griff this just because I like to jab him, but I could only lay the number. I think Tennessee may be one of the worst football teams out there. Patriots running them, and Patriots are going to have a race, but I'm not sold on Tennessee. Now, Griff and I were at Circa Ultimate Contest weekend last weekend, and we were sitting around having a bevy with our good friend Vernon Croy, who is a handicapper at DocSports.com. And Vernon is a savvy old veteran, much like myself. And Vernon has always been one of these analytical minds, and he kept telling me, he told me and you both, be wary of the Titans on defense, because that's the only thing that's going to keep them in games. That they have a good defense. They're going to be sneaky good on defense. And of course, the wheels in Vernon's mind were spinning about all the totals. That's what he's looking at, because they're going to get beat up this year. I mean, that's no doubt about that. That's a no-brainer. That's like picking up the styrofoam duck out of the horse trough of water at the county fair, and every time you flip it over, you got an automatic prize. You automatically win, when you give the guy the dollar bill. That's one of those type of deals. That's the only game I could win at the county fair besides shooting the gun at the Ducks, but I ended up shooting the guy until he gave me a prize. So nonetheless, give me under 45 in this game. 2 reasons. Yes, Caleb Williams is going to be a stud. He's going to be a good player in this league. This is an entirely new offense, all new faces. Stud. Allen's going to have a big day, at wide receiver. No doubt about it. He's going to have a big day. You might want to take a look at the prop on him for receiving yards. He's going to go down the field. No doubt about it. He likes to chuck the rock. He's going to. The coach is giving him to chuck the rock. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a learning curve. This is a real defense, real game, real life scenario for a rookie quarterback in his first start. There's going to be some growing pains. On the other side of the coin, Will Levis was the worst quarterback in the NFL in pass completion percentage at 54% last year, in front of the line of scrimmage. Throwing to the backs in the backfield, you got a high rate of completion. No, down the field, the worst rated quarterback at 54% in the NFL. And by the way, as you mentioned to open up the pick, Griff, the pacifier, the big boy, Derrick Henry is no longer there to hand the ball off to and pound the rock with that monster frame that he has. We'll see him in Kansas City on Thursday night. Oh,
It's going to be a game, man.
Nonetheless, go ahead and give me the under 45. This might even be a premium on my premium card. This is Wednesday. Lines are going to move. Still haven't done all our homework, but this is the first one that jumped off. If Chicago could get out of here with, let's just say 23-10 win, 17-10 win. That's a huge victory for the Chicago Bears to set the tone for the season with this dynamic offense. And Chicago, with the talent level they have, if they stay healthy, is going to continue to get better each and every week during this NFL season. No doubt about it, as much as it pains me to say that, especially to Griffin Murphy, who is a Bears fan. But, I got Mahomes, you got Williams. I'm still winning. Let's switch gears. Let's go down south. Let's go down to the state of Florida. Let's go down to the land of sunshine.
Sure.
All good vibes, tequilas, Mai Tais. Everybody smells like Jamaican rum and Coppertone. And let's go ahead and talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road, opening up at Miami. This is one of the most interesting games of the weekend to me, Griff. There's a lot going on here. There's expectations in Jacksonville in what I think is going to be a dogfight division, much like the division your Bears are in. But this is another division with a lot of teams that are good. There's going to be a lot of parity. And we still have yet to see Trevor Lawrence get it done in a big spot. I'm not sold on Peterson. On the other side of the coin, now we have Miami, who underachieved last year a little bit. We got Tua. We got, McDaniels calling plays. We got a wide open game plan. We got a lot of F-bombs on HBO Hard Knocks last year from the coach. But nonetheless, here we go. Miami, a 3.5-point favorite. This moved off the number of 3. Fall numbers, folks. Fall numbers, 3, 6, 7, 10. Numbers the game's likely to land on. Total 49. So they're expecting a little bit of a shootout here, Griff. How do you see it?
Yeah, Tony, this game actually to me was a little bit easier as I did my homework. Obviously, I've been watching these two teams for the past month, really scouting, and Miami comes into this game with the nearly exact offense as last season, and we are aware this can be the most elusive offense in all of football at times. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle. I mean, we're talking about speed on speed. And what we have to ask ourselves is a simple question. Can Jacksonville's secondary really handle this receiving core? Jacksonville's going to have 3 new corners on the defensive side this season, all picked up as free agents. Now you're asking them to cover Tyreek Hill, who is arguably, if not arguably, the #1 wide receiver in all of football. And then you've got Waddle as well. Jacksonville is strong on the pass rush, and Tua, he's fast in the pocket, and he's never easy to get to. That is not a guy who's easy to sack. There's a huge risk factor for Jacksonville here in the secondary, and that is something that you have to key out when you're playing a team like the Miami Dolphins, the Kansas City Chiefs, teams that are elusive on those wide receiver spots. The Dolphins last season, they went 7-2 at home, while the Jags were 5-3 on the road. In my eyes, the Dolphins' offense is just too potent, and there are too many liabilities for the Jaguars in this game. I like the -3.5 here with Miami, but I have to say, my play to you guys would be buying a point down. Shave that field goal away. Take Miami at -2.5. That way, you don't lose on that hook. You actually win by that hook. That way, you're shaving off the field goal, and you're getting Miami at that 2.5. So I like Miami at 3.5, but if you're comfortable buying them down to 2.5, that is absolutely my play to you guys. But having said that, last but not least, on the Gridiron 6-pack show, we obviously dominated last season. We won 68% against the spread, over 100 play sample size. And inside of those plays, we had Tony George smack nearly 80% of what we like to call them, Tony tease them. So Tony, go ahead and tease them, brother.
That's right. There's more than one way to skin a cat, folks. Teasers. And don't forget, props. More and more props coming in. Griff and I will be doing NFL props for all the games, starting with Thursday night. And then we'll have them. Those come out day of game, by the way. So there's a prop section on the website. You go down to the props and you get the prop card. I think prop cards are $25.
Yep, they are.
As I like to say, Griff, you can't go through Arby's for 2 people for $25. There's no way. So Get a fat burger, forget about it out here. In and out, maybe. Maybe in and out burger, you get slide in just under 25, but that burger only lasts about 10 minutes or less. Where a teaser lasts for 3 hours, you can enjoy it. So a prop does. So go ahead and get that going. And we'll have those on separate cards at docsports.com. Don't forget the free $60. I've got to do the promos, by the way. Somebody's got to pay the bills around here. Griffin's talents don't come cheap, folks. We got to pay this guy a lot of jack to get him and get his wares up and going. So, nonetheless, let's talk about the teasers. Two team 6-point teasers in the NFL. And remember one thing, we tell you this every year, we'll tell it to you again. You're not betting games, you're betting numbers. Griffin just gave you an example of a number. 3.5 is not a world's greatest number. Lay some extra juice and get that. Even if you want to only go to 120 versus a little bit more juice to get it down to 2.5, lay the 120 and get it to 3. At least you're on a fall number if it ends up 27, 24 and your bet pushes. But we're manipulating numbers is what we're trying to tell you. Two teams I like this weekend. Let me put it to you this way, Griff. If the Cincinnati Bengals lose to the New England Patriots, they will fire Zach Taylor week 1. Period. The New England Patriots will be lucky to win 5 games in the NFL this year.
Agreed.
Lucky. They have. What's the number one thing you need in the NFL to win games? If you're living under a rock, this is football 101. Quarterback right there. Why is Kansas City won 2 Super Bowls in a row? Quarterback. Why are the teams that were playing against Kansas City in the second round and the championship game, why were they there? Why was Buffalo there? Josh Allen. Why was Baltimore there? Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Same thing on the other side of the coin in the NFC battles. Now, Joe Burrow versus Jacoby Brissett?
This guy's still in the league.
Let me tell you something. They came a long way from Tom Brady, I can tell you that. And a new head coach, kind of in a revamped team, kind of a quarterback by committee preseason effort on the road against Joe Burrow, who's a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's an elite quarterback because the damn guy can't stay healthy long enough to be categorized as one. But they dropped down to 7.5 on Wednesday. Tease them down 6 points, -1.5 with the Bengals. Griff, if the Bengals, the straight up line was -1.5 right now, you would not be in Phoenix. Me and you would be out here on Las Vegas Boulevard and Fifth Avenue with a cup in our hand, begging people for money so we could pool every dime we had to unload the entire universe on the Cincinnati Bengals. Absolutely. I like them at -1.5 in this teaser. And in the second half of this teaser, give me the Cardinals. Tease them up.
Yeah. Okay.
12.5. But first of all, what's Buffalo doing laying 6.5 in an opener? They got, you know what? Remember last year, a lot of Buffalo's problems were injuries? Griffin, they're injury riddled again, and the season haven't even started. Mm-hmm. And what's Josh Allen like to do every now and then? Like 1.5 to 2 times a game. Hint, prop bet, he likes to throw interceptions. Don't forget, folks, we got the debut of Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver, a healthy Kyler Murphy. And anybody remember this name, running back Connors, who was a one-ran wrecking crew for the Cardinals? Griff, you're familiar with him. You're a Phoenix boy, transplanted from Chicago before you went to Vegas last year. Bottom line is, hell of a running back. And one thing I noticed about Arizona last year, despite their record, they played very hard for that head coach. They believed in what he was selling, Griff. Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely, Tony. Every single loss that this team took down, it was a fighting loss. They were a very good team, and now you got Kyler Murray healthy. back at that quarterback spot. Like you mentioned, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then a load with James Conner in that running back spot. Their offensive line is stacked. And yes, they play very hard football despite their losing record last season. I have very high hopes for this team. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on the way this Arizona Cardinals team is going to perform this season, Tony.
They're going to be competitive. I would be very afraid to lay that 6.5 right now in that game. So we're teasing the Cardinals up to 12.5, and we're teasing the Bengals down to 1.5. 2 teams, 6-point teaser. Griffin, this weekend over at DocSports.com, not only Griff and I, although we're the 2 best looking handicappers. Right. You know, we're just talking semantics now, but we're the 2 most attractive, handsome, good-looking handicappers they got over there. I know a couple of my buddies over there, including Scott Spreitzer, is going to take exception to that, but I think we're the 2 best. But we do have 10 other expert handicappers over at DocSports.com. We have a consensus service, 11th Hour Sports, a bevy of other options. We have a prop service over there as well, which I believe is text-based as well as like Doc's consensus service. So you have more than 2 options at DocSports.com. Be sure and get over there. This weekend, I will have a 3 to 4 play NFL card on. I may take the Friday night game. Griff, I'm going to enjoy that Thursday night game.
I know you are. Enjoy it. I am too.
I'm going to have some prop bets on it. Trust me, I'm making a move. I'm busting moves on props in that game. But I don't think I'm going to take that game. But maybe the Friday night game I might get involved in. I'll have a card for Sunday. I don't think I'm going to have any banger top picks in the NFL week 1. But basically week 3 in college football, 7-unit banger on Saturday, an absolute whitewash coming, along with 2 or 3 others, and a Friday night game as well in college football. What do you got going on so far this weekend, Griff?
Yeah, Tony, I'm on the same side as you. I have 3 plays going out on college football, and I have 3 plays going out in the NFL. I don't think I'm going to have anything crazy juicy as we are entering week 1. And there's just a lot of misconception always going into NFL week 1. You have to be cautious. You have to be wary. You have to just like the Bengals, for instance, Joe Burrow. You just have to watch these guys play. Caleb Williams with the Bears. Make sure that these offenses are settled in. Defense is a little bit different on the mentality side of things. You know, you're going in there in just destruction mode. That's what it is. We're going in tackle. We've got to play and cover our assignments. So always week 1, I'm wary. When it comes to the NFL, at tops, I will have a 5-unit best bet. I already have all 3 games circled up. I'm just kind of waiting on a little bit of line action with that. Although on Saturday, I do have a 3-pack, including a 7-unit best bet. I'm currently 5-2 across all of my football selections this season, including NFL preseason. So we have been winning. We are locked in. I'll have 6 plays across the entire weekend. But football, for when it comes to the NFL, my highest volume play will be a 5-unit. But on the college football side of things, there is a massive edge, a massive angle that I have going in Saturday, and that will be a 7-unit blaster, Tony. And props all weekend. Massive props all over the map. And again, my apologies, didn't mean to cut you off, brother. But same thing for me with this Chiefs-Ravens game. Same thing. I am not going to be on action with this one. This is going to be a game for me where we're going to kind of see more of a redemption game. We're going to see more of a battle war. And this is one that for me, I'd rather be a fan aside. I want to watch this thing, but tons of prop opportunity in this matchup. And I mean tons at the running back spot, at the quarterback spot, all over the map. So look heavily for my prop plays in this matchup tomorrow. Again, 3-pack NFL, 3-pack college football. Tony, that's what I've got rolling this weekend, brother.
Chiefs 28, Ravens 21.
I like it. We'll find out, man.
There you go, folks. Get over to DocSports.com. We'll be back at you next week on Doc's Gridiron 6-pack. Thanks for tuning in.